All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to get into talking about the teams that are struggling. We will get into talking about the 0-3 teams as well as some of the 1-2 teams that are struggling and can they turn it around. So let's get into that. So we'll start off with the 0-3 team. So we did talk about the Bengals, and I do believe that they will turn it around. I'm not giving up just yet, but it's not looking good right now. However, the other 0-3 teams, they both reside in the AFC South, and that's the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for them, I'm not as confident in them turning their seasons around. The Jaguars, I mean, that performance on Monday against the Bills, that was horrendous. Nothing went right for them in that game. The Bills didn't punt until the fourth quarter. And Trevor Lawrence, I think he's 0-8 now in his last 8 starts. It was 0-7, now it's 0-8. I think it's 0-8 now. He hasn't been good. But I don't think he's... I think there's a bigger issue besides just Trevor Lawrence. It's really everything. But he hasn't been great. The defense, I mean, they couldn't stop the Bills. They couldn't do anything to contain that offense and Josh Allen. And I don't know when it's going to get better. They take on the Texans this weekend. Could they pull off an upset? Yeah. But I don't think they are. The Texans are coming off of a loss where they got embarrassed. So, they're going to want to protect their home turf. It's just not looking good right now. And I have a feeling this season is going to continue to spiral out of control. And then, Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke are going to be gone. And then I look at the Tennessee Titans. Again, you got a first-year head coach, second-year quarterback. I think there's some urgency to get something going here. Because you want to see if Will Levis is the guy. I think this is really Will Levis's only chance. If he continues to play bad, the Titans are going to look for another quarterback. Whereas, the Jaguars, they're locked in Trevor Lawrence. Like, there's going to be changes in terms of the coaching and front office. When it comes to the Titans, there could be a change behind center. They're not committed to Will Levis. Now, Callahan said that he is the quarterback moving forward, but that does not mean that's going to be beyond this year. He could be benched before the end of the year. So that's where these teams kind of differ. Now, I didn't have either of these teams making the playoffs. I had the Jags finishing with a more respectable record. The Titans, I only had them at 6 wins. Right now, I mean, they could get maybe like 4 wins. And it's not to say that, they could have started off 2-0. They should have beaten the Bears. The Jets, they had their opportunities there. They were winning that game. They really didn't have a chance against the Packers. The Packers kind of dominated them from start to finish. But again, Will Levis turnovers, threw a pick 6 in this game, lost, had a fumble in this game against the Packers. Will Levis has been a problem. And they got to figure it out. They got to limit the turnovers, limit the mistakes. And if they could do that, then you know what? Maybe they could turn their season around. But I don't think that's going to happen. If Will Levis can show improvement as the year goes on, then, we're going to have a different conversation. But right now, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. But, Will Levis will put together drives. He'll make some throws where you're like, wow, that was impressive. But then he'll just... it's kind of the same thing with Anthony Richardson. Now, I think Anthony Richardson's ceiling is higher than Will Levis's. But, again, they make plays where you're like, wow, that was incredible. And then they do something where, Will Levis tries to, throw a backwards pass or, he shovels it back to Tajay Spears against the Jets, and that ends up being a fumble. He tries to, as he's about to get sacked, he tries to flick the ball up, and throw it away, and it ends up being a pick six, and you cost your team the game. And another pick six and another fumble in the game against the Packers. It's just turnovers have been a problem. I think he leads the NFL in turnovers, which doesn't surprise me. They got to cut that down. And if they could do that, then, like I said, maybe they could turn their season around. Because they do have talent on this team. They have a good defense. The running game hasn't been bad so far this year. They're trying to get DeAndre Hopkins healthy because he's still dealing with his knee issue. Scored a touchdown against the Packers. Ridley had a good Week 2 performance against the Jets. Got Tyler Boyd as your third wide receiver. They have talent on this team. I've been saying that. It's just you need your quarterback to play better. And he hasn't. So we'll see what happens going into this week when they take on the Dolphins. That's a winnable game because the Dolphins are going to have a backup quarterback playing. And they did beat Tua and the Dolphins on the road last year on Monday night. So, yeah, you got that. The Jags, they're taking on the Texans. But then you got some of the 1 and 2 teams that are struggling. The 49ers, they're dealing with a ton of injuries right now. But I think the bigger concern for me, like Brock Purdy played well. And this was without McCaffrey, without Debo, without Kittle. You had Ayuk. Juwan Jennings was great in that game. Jordan Mason has been running the football well for them. So the offense, I think, will be okay. They're going to get Debo and Kittle back. We'll see what happens with McCaffrey. My concern is the defense. That's where I'm more concerned about when it comes to the 49ers. Because now Javon Hargrave partially tore his pectoral, and he's out for at least the rest of the regular season. That's a key guy up the middle for them. So he's out. You're still missing Dre Greenlaw. The secondary, that's been a problem the last couple of years. That got torched on Sunday. The defense for me is the concern when it comes to the Niners. Because, look, Brock Purdy played really well. Played one of his best games. And this was without his top weapons. And he, at least for this past week, he shut down the Brock Purdy naysayers, calling him a system quarterback. But, if the defense is going to play like that, and this is against the Rams team that is even more injured on the offensive line, their top weapons. 49ers should have won that game. They were up in the game. But the Rams came back. Give the Rams credit. Rams picked up a huge win there. So I do have my concerns with the Niners, but I do think, like the Bengals, they're going to be okay. They're going to figure it out. They're going to get guys back. George Kittle was practicing in a limited capacity this week, so hopefully he comes back. You get Deebo Samuel back, hopefully next week. They take on the Patriots, which is a game I think they should win, but who knows? The Patriots, they beat the Bengals. They almost beat the Seahawks. They look terrible against the Jets. I mean, who knows what the Patriots are going to do here? I think the 49ers should win. But you get Debo and Kittle back. If you at least get those two guys back, okay, but you got to get the defense right. So I'm a little concerned with them. The Cowboys are 1 and 2. They got more concerns than the Niners do. They can't run the football. The defense has been horrendous. I mean, do they really miss Deron Bland that much? I don't think Deron Bland would make that big of a difference. I mean, he would definitely help. But, the Cowboys, they can't stop the run. Their defense is a problem right now. And they can't run the football. They can't stop the run, and they can't run. So, they got to figure that out. Also, CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott aren't on the same page right now. They're trying to work things out there. But there's no other threat besides CeeDee Lamb that scares you in the passing game. And that's a problem. Because at least when you go back to CeeDee Lamb's rookie year, you had Amari Cooper. And then his second year, of course, because Amari Cooper was still with the Cowboys in 21. It was 22 where he got traded to the Browns. But yeah, they don't really have another threat at receiver. They have guys that they like on the team, but nobody that really scares you. But I still think the Cowboys, they're going to finish with a respectable record. I think they're going to still find a way to make the playoffs. I'm not going to jump off of that bandwagon yet. But I do have concerns. I mean, I had them making it in as a wild card team. I think the Eagles, that's their division to lose. But we'll see. And then anybody else that I wanted to get to? I mean, the Rams are 1-2, but they picked up a big win against the Niners that I didn't expect them to win. If they could tread water and get guys back healthy, then, they could get back on track. But I guess some of the other teams, the Browns and the Dolphins, two concerns I have with them, they're both similar, is the quarterback position. Deshaun Watson's not playing well, and the Dolphins are without Tua. Now, the Browns, hopefully they get their tackles back because their tackles got hurt. Nick Chubb could be practicing next week, so getting him back would be a huge boost for this team. But I'm curious to see if Deshaun Watson does finish out the year. Because I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting benched. And for the Dolphins, they got to try to tread water until Tua comes back. Can they win against the Titans on Monday? Absolutely. Like I said in the beginning of towards the beginning of the show, Tyler Huntley, I think, should be the starter. I think that's their best option. And then I think there was one more team. Yeah, the Bears. Look, we talked about them. Better protection of Caleb Williams. And got to establish a running game. They have not been running the football well. And I think Caleb Williams, you saw it a little bit, starting to get it going. So we'll see. Now going up against a defense that's not very good in the Rams, that's an opportunity for the Bears to kind of have their breakout game. That's my opinion. But let me know what you guys think about some of the teams that are struggling so far. Who do you think will turn around their season? Who do you think their season is pretty much done? Let me know in the comments. And that is pretty much it for the show for today. I thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows. Give the other shows some love. And yeah, so with that, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight. Take care.